Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields have all been mentioned as the second signal caller off the board in different mock drafts. And some speculate that one of those quarterbacks could end up having a better career than Lawrence. NFL Network draft analyst Bucky Brooks, he is back with us. So, Bucky, I'm curious, rank your top 5 quarterbacks in this draft. What do you got?
Okay, this is a really interesting quarterback class, but if I had to rank them from 1 to 5, I would go Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and then Mac Jones. And the reason the top 4 guys are in that order is because Trevor Lawrence has always been celebrated as QB1, but if you go back and dig into high school, it's always been 1A, 1B with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, and sometimes their order was flipped. When we've seen those 2 guys on the field compete against each other, some would say that Justin Fields was the best guy on the field. And so I believe both of those guys are unique, transcendent talent that are going to have immediate success in the National Football League. Zach Wilson is kind of a Johnny-come-lately, tremendous arm talent and athleticism, big-time basketball player in high school, kind of plays the game in a way that reminds you of how Aaron Rodgers shines at his best. Not saying that he's that guy, but he gives you traces of that talent when you watch him at BYU. Trey Lance is really a small school standout, big, fast, physical, a guy who had Power 5 offers as an outside linebacker and safety, but plays quarterback. High IQ, plays in a multiple system that has produced quarterbacks, Carson Wentz, Easton Stick, who really understand the NFL system. Mac Jones is a little bit of the outlier because he doesn't have the dazzling arm talent or the athleticism of each guy, but he's a point guard. He distributes it. He gets the ball out of his hands. He allows his playmakers to do their work. And for a coordinator who wants to play the game like a video game with Mac Jones as a joystick, it works. So all 5 guys can have success, but fit ultimately will determine what kind of careers each of these guys have.
What about the tape? If I take physicality and say, you're not going to run the 40, you're not going to vertical jump, you're not going to do a 3-cone drill. If you just look at the tape, who has to rank the tape in order?
I ranked it in order how I saw it. Trevor Lawrence is unique. He kind of reminds me of Justin Herbert plus a little more sizzle than Justin Herbert, but he plays like that. When I look at Justin Fields, the comparison will be to Dak Prescott, which is polarizing, which is also why his evaluation may be polarizing to some. Big, physical, tough guy persona. You see that toughness when he plays, takes licks, looks down the barrel of a loaded gun and doesn't flinch. He's a big-time playmaker also. He was a big-time baseball player. You've seen how that's played out for Russell Wilson and Pat Mahomes. Zach Wilson played against lesser competition, so it's not really an apples-to-apples comparison when you compare him to the other 2. Okay. That said, the talent jumps. Touch, timing, anticipation, on script, off script. He's maybe the most natural of all of them when it comes to it. Trey Lance is just a freak of nature as an athlete. Mac Jones, the tape is the conversation that everyone will have. Hey, look at the offensive line. Look at the running back, the playmakers. That said, give him credit for putting the ball in the strike zone. Those guys don't move often. They make plays. It's a lot of yards after catching that offense, but he does a good job of getting the ball so they can play. So it really comes down to style and the fit when it comes to your offense.
3, I think I want to go is 3. If you're in the 30, you're the San Francisco 49ers, you know the type of offense that Kyle Shanahan likes to run. Who's the best fit? Who do you believe is the best fit for that offense?
You know, it's funny because like Shannon, you can give him different examples, right? Yeah. If he wants the Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins thing, look, Mac Jones is the guy. Mac Jones can do all this stuff that Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins were able to do from the pocket. He can roll out, he can do all of that stuff and just deliver time and time again. But then if he wants that stuff plus what he was able to do with RG3, then it becomes Trey Lance and Justin Fields. And in that scenario, I would rate Justin Fields ahead of Trey Lance, but I can see why Trey Lance might be their guy. When you watch Trey Lance at North Dakota State, he gets up under center. He runs traditional pro-style concepts on one play, then he backs up, he's in a shotgun, running zone read. So when you think about the San Francisco 49ers and what they could do, he could make both of his playbooks and create a super offense with Trey Lance and those dynamic weapons that he has on the side. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, the zone run game that they have. It could be terrific. And I say he could do it with anybody. I think the thing that he has to evaluate is, in the division, right now I currently have maybe the worst quarterback in the division. Can I get a quarterback that can give me a chance to overtake Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, and Kyler Murray? Which of those quarterbacks gives me that chance? In my mind, I'm thinking Justin Fields or Trey Lance would give him a greater chance to have eventually the best quarterback in the division over Mac Jones.
You want to go?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
All right, back to your list, Bucky. I am sold on Trey Lance as the second best quarterback, and it goes beyond physical talent because I think he has the highest football IQ. He's a film study junkie. And what I love the most about this very young man who's still 20 years of age, he has always been careful with the football. His priority has been, I don't turn the football over. You can't buy that. You can't find it. It will translate to the next level. But given your list, you have Justin Fields almost a 1A to Trevor Lawrence at number 1. So I have asked Shannon this question 1,000 times on this show already. What are the New York Jets doing where they just sort of carved in concrete or in stone or marble that they are taking Zach Wilson? It's been out there for 2 months. Why wouldn't they take Justin Fields if you are right? Why don't we hear a peep about that?
I don't know. It's one of the great mysteries because when we were coming into the college football season, it was all about Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. But we see this each and every year. Sometimes you can be on the stage for too long. And so you have to find a way to poke holes at somebody. Unfortunately for Justin Fields, he has been the guy that has been scrutinized. Yeah. It is very reminiscent of the Justin Herbert situation. Justin Herbert had been on that stage for a long time. When it comes time to get to the draft, all we do is take shots at Justin Herbert and we kind of bring him down a peg. Then he plays and we have a love affair again with Justin Herbert. I think the same thing is going to happen with Justin Fields. When I look at the Jets, maybe here's where the influence comes from with Zach Wilson. Matt LaFleur, his brother Mike LaFleur, I think is the offensive coordinator for the Jets. Maybe the LaFleurs are having conversations. I gave you that comparison with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe that is filtered into, hey, this guy has athleticism. Maybe we could do some of the same things that they do in Green Bay. I don't know, but I think the conversation should be Justin Fields versus Zach Wilson, as opposed to just handing the number 2 spot to Zach Wilson. It should have been more of a debate than it seemingly has been up to this point.
Because you mentioned Johnny-come-lately in Zach Wilson, and it reminds me more of Johnny Manziel than of Aaron Rodgers because he plays more like Manziel played, yet Johnny Manziel had rare quickness and escapability, and this kid doesn't have that. And he takes chances. He got hurt twice and needed surgery twice at BYU, and he only took off this year, which is his 3rd year of starting, and yet Shannon and I both watched the game at Coastal Carolina, which was on a neutral site in South Carolina. And I got to tell you, he had a hard time in that game. His decision-making was off. His accuracy was off. And they really had a long, hard afternoon that day against their most quality opponent that they played. And then if you look at him against top 25 teams, he's 2-4 over his 3 years that he started at BYU. I'm just not sold.
I mean, look, I think that's a valid point. And competition does matter because the one thing that we can say about Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, man, we saw those guys play against the best. And sometimes those games didn't work out. Trevor Lawrence didn't play great against LSU on the big stage, was just okay against Ohio State 2 of the times that they played. Justin Fields, you could say the same thing. Look, he struggled against Indiana Northwestern. There isn't a comparable game for Zach Wilson that we can say, hey, man, he played elite competition. Let's see what he looks like. So he did always have the advantage of playing against lesser guys. And so you're trying to project more with him, but it's a very valid concern because he has been hurt multiple times in college, and we didn't see him play against Power 5 schools. So it is a projection that is comparable to the projection that we're making with Trey Lance. We're assuming that he's going to be able to make the jump because of the talent, but we certainly don't know if he's going to be able to make that jump and be a dominant.
Any chance these guys slide? I mean, it seems like you're very high on. You seem to think that Lawrence is going 1, Zach Wilson goes 2. You think Trey Lance might be the better fit in San Francisco for Kyle Shanahan. So 1, 2, 3 go off the board. Is there a chance 2 of these guys slide up out of the top 10, top 15, or is somebody moving up to get one or both of these guys?
Man, it's the great unknown, right? So the draft starts at 3 with the 49ers and the decision they make at quarterback. Who do they take? Because let's just say they take Trey Lance. Well, who is going to take Mac Jones? Who is the team that covers Mac Jones? Is it Denver at 9? Is it the New England Patriots at maybe 15? Is it the Washington football team at 19? Then the same could be said for Justin Fields. If Justin Fields doesn't go at 4, where's his landing spot? Does Carolina take him at 8, even though they just took Sam Darnold in a trade? So many unknowns. This draft is fascinating because this year, unlike other years, we don't have think tank because no one has been able to get together. You don't have all the meetings of the minds at the combine. We haven't got together at the pro days. Some people played this year, other people didn't. So who knows what people really think about these prospects. It'd be fascinating to watch on Thursday.
Bucky, I want to ask you one more thing. Why did you hear the reason why Justin Fields couldn't beat out Jake Fromm?
So I think some of this was coaches like comfort. And Jake Fromm never gave the Georgia coaches reason to take the position away. Even though Justin Fields was more talented and Kirby Smart was pushing for him to play, Jake Fromm never left the door cracked for him to come in. Never had an egregious performance that you're like, hey, man, we got to get him out. We got to get better. And sometimes, because Jake Fromm was able to hit singles and doubles, he just kept the runners on base and never gave Justin Fields that opportunity. That said, I will say this. When Ryan Day had an opportunity to get Justin Fields and Dwayne Haskins was leaving, he didn't blink at the possibility like, oh, our offense is going to fall apart. He said, we will be able to do more stuff with Justin Fields because of the running element, the athleticism, and the arm talent.
Good enough.
So true, Bucky. I can't overemphasize enough the relationship between Ryan Day, Justin Fields, and obviously, you know how I feel about Fields. You and I talked plenty after Ohio State games on the radio this season. I'm very intrigued where he ends up. But Bucky, good stuff from you. We're going to talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks so much for your time. And guys, just a reminder, Terry Bradshaw and Fox Super 6 are giving away 5